Hey everyone, I'm Martin Miller, musician, YouTuber, and author. Join me for this exclusive lesson on how to play rock guitar. Welcome back. Now we're going to be doing a little technique module here. The reason I put this here is because some of these techniques are quite challenging and a little bit more advanced, but you're going to be requiring them to be able to play the lead guitar to the full track of Amped Up. Some of these techniques are so essential that they're associated with really famous players. Like if you talk about string bending, you will automatically think of a player like Gary Moore or Brian May or David Gilmour, for instance. In the same way that when you think of hammer-ons and pull-offs, you think of somebody like Joe Satriani. So these are absolute essentials for any rock guitar lead player. We're going to be looking at them a little bit in isolation to really understand how they work and how you can practice them as well. Let's start off with string bending. Now, string bending is one of those things that brings the guitar closer to the human voice. What we're going to be doing here is we're going to grab a pitch by fretting a note and picking it, and then we're going to bend it to create another pitch. Let me just demonstrate this real quick. I'm going to the 10th fret on my B string with my third finger. I'm going to strike that note, and then I'm going to bend it up a whole step. It goes like this. Isn't that the coolest thing ever? Let's do it again. Whole blues and rock guitar player careers have been made through this technique, right? So if you want to learn how to do this, there's a couple things you have to keep in mind. First of all, the thumb over the fretboard is kind of a necessity for this. I know a lot of guitar players will tell you not to use the thumb over the fretboard. For string bending, it's an absolute must. Also, you're going to have to anchor and lock in the finger that you're fretting with, as well as the other fingers that support it. And the third thing you're going to have to keep in mind is that you want to lock in this joint right here underneath the fretboard. So you really have three spots where the hand is really locked in with the fretboard. The first one being the thumb, the joint down here, and the note you're fretting with these joints locked up as well. With that set up, you're gonna rotate your forearm like this. Kind of think as if you were to unlock a door with a key. It's kind of like that, except that you're locked in these specific points, and that'll make your hand do this kind of thing, and that pushes the string up and down, and it causes the string to change pitch, such as this. Now, this is not coming from the fingers. It may look like it's coming from the fingers, and maybe the fingers support it a little bit by stretching out more. But the core of this whole thing is really coming from the forearm. If I pull my jumper back a little bit, you'll see it better. Yeah, do you see that rotation right there? Try to follow that. And when I do vibrato on top of that, you're going to see it even more because my arm is wiggling like this. Now, with a bend, you can obviously bend up, but you can also release down. So it goes both ways, or you can do both at the same time. If you want to come up with some exercises for this, just take the same note you've played before, but now use the fourth finger instead of the third. Whole different feeling. Use the second finger. And if you're really good at it, you can even do it with your first finger. That is very hard though. I want you to go to different frets on different strings. Next up, go to the 5th fret of the G string, third finger. Let's go to the 12th fret, G string. Let's go to the 13th fret, high E string. And not only can you bend whole notes, as we did now, you can also bend half notes, which means you do smaller bends. For example, when you want to go from F sharp here on the 14th fret, high E, to the 15th fret, you bend only half steps, as opposed to a whole step, which is this. That is basically jumping 2 notes ahead. Whereas a half step bend is equal to 1 fret. Yeah, so that is a little introduction into string bending. Spend a lot of time on this, listen to great players who do string bending, immerse yourself in it, and you'll get it. Let's move on to hammer-ons and pull-offs. Hammer-ons and pull-offs are a great way to add a sense of smoothness to your lead lines. Let's assume you have 2 notes on the same string, 5th fret G string, 7th fret G string. Instead of picking both notes such as this, as you go from low to high, you can also hammer on to that note like this. Yeah, look at my right hand here. I'm going to pick once with a downstroke, and then it's gone. I can still make that note happen by slamming the third finger against the fret. You need a little bit of precision for that. If you're going to miss the fret, nothing's going to come out, or it's going to be very quiet and very messy. But that is your hammer-on. The pull-off is kind of the reverse of that. You're going from a higher note to a lower note, such as 7th to 5th fret. But once again, instead of picking both notes, you only pick the first. And then, as the name suggests, you pull your fingers down, and in pulling it down, you give energy into the string so the note below comes out. It's kind of, the name pull-off is a little bit misleading. It's not just going down. Think down and away a little bit. Think of as if you're picking the note with your ring finger in this case. Like that. Right? Only one pick necessary. Now you can combine hammer-ons and pull-offs as well, and that gives you a so-called trill, where you hammer onto the first note and pull off to the next one, and then hammer, pull. And it sounds like this. If you want to make this really efficient, I suggest you use a little bit of forearm motion in the mix here. So it's not just the fingers, because they tend to be a little bit weak compared to the forearm. So it's a little something like this. That's hammer-ons and pull-offs. And of course, you can do this on all strings with all combinations of fingers. Let's do it down here on the low E string, frets 3 and 4, and we're going to use the first and second finger. You can also do it across strings, doing only hammer-ons. You can also do only pull-offs across the strings. Let's use the 4th finger on the 13th fret high E, first finger on the 10th fret high E, and go down all the strings. So any combination of notes, fingers, and strings, use them to your advantage and practice those hammer-ons and pull-offs. Thank you for joining me on this lesson. This was one part of my entry-level rock guitar playing masterclass here on Skillshare. Join me on the full class to learn how to play 2 tracks step by step. Click on the link below to get started, and while you're here, don't forget to subscribe to Skillshare's channel for more tutorials like these.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all of our latest videos.